been in RPGs since the beginning. This is not a men's-only zone, when many times men are playing in a world created or influenced heavily by a woman. These figures, much like the Beatles have influenced music for generations, have become the main influencers of RPGs and gaming.
All right, well, excellent. So, hi, and welcome back, everyone, to Tome Travelers. This week is a special episode where we're going to talk about women in RPG gaming.
Yeah, this in June, we hope to have this out by the end of the month, but June, in addition to being Pride Month, is also Women in Gaming Month. So John has had this episode ready to go for a while. We've considered it for a couple different projects, but we are finally getting to it. So,
and I want to go ahead and say, so hi, and happy Women in RPG Gaming Month, and Sam, hi, and happy Pride Month.
Yay.
This is going to be an interesting episode because, we could talk about women currently who are big figures in RPG gaming. We could talk about Satine Phoenix, who Time Magazine declared the queen of D&D.
Really?
Yes.
I did not see that. That's pretty cool.
So, she is a huge figure. She does like the celebrity D&D stuff and everything else.
She's officially been hired by Wizards of the Coast now to do, I believe, social media or something for D&D.
Or we could talk about Shelley Mazanoble, who once wrote the book, the Part-Time Sorcerer's Guide to D&D, amongst other books. But now she is the, basically for the D&D podcast, the official one, she is one of the hosts.
Oh, that was her that we were listening to that one day. Okay.
And so those are two women who are very big in gaming now. But being that we are Tome Travelers, we're going to talk about women who were very influential in the creation of RPGs.
Well, and namely some titles that we would be looking at in the scope of our tome traveling.
So we're going to start this off, and these are not in any particular order, trust me, because we'll get to one of my RPG senpais, you know, and I did not put her first. So
well, that's good. Yeah, I noticed that when I was going through the notes.
So let's start off. We're going to talk about Mary Kirchhoff. Now, a lot of these names we're not going to be really familiar with.
A lot of them are completely new to me.
But but I want to do a salute to them. Patriotic music. Here's to you. Kind of thing. But I would definitely want to say, these are names that are big. So Mary Kirchhoff, though, we're going to talk about her. She went to school with Gary Gygax, and she was a writer and the head of fiction development for TSR. One of the things that she got started with was working on Gamma World modules. Now, Gamma World, are you familiar with it, Sam?
That's an old title.
Oh, yes, it is.
I vaguely recall it.
Some companies have tried to produce stuff for modern, and I do believe that there is a modern setting out right now for it. But yeah, it was a very old title from TSR back in the day.
I want to say I've seen like the books, they were like modules.
Oh yeah,
they were whole books. That's just how little they had for it. But yeah, I want to say I remember. Yeah, now that I think about it, it was like playing. What's the one that the outer space one that eventually.
Oh my goodness! It's the one with the
Plane Jammer.
Now, here's a title that she's responsible for. That's much bigger, and that is Dark Sun. She was one of the 3 lead creators of Dark Sun.
Oh, okay.
Now. That is a huge universe. You and I have talked about it a couple of times.
Yeah, we've never done a show on it, but we've planned to.
Yeah, because, it was 2nd edition, and it was 4th edition. There's strong rumors that's going to be a 5th edition official setting, which I think would be really cool to see it updated.
Yeah, they're bringing it back for 5th edition.
It's unfortunate. Whenever you think D&D, most people who play are going to be who do you associate? Gary Gygax. That's the first name they're going to come up with.
Oh yeah.
When you talk about Dark Sun, they're going to go, what do you know about it? Oh, it's a D&D game. Mary Kirchhoff. You would never never hear that, which is very unfortunate because Dark Sun is one of my favorite genres, areas, worlds.
Oh yeah. No, the computer games were awesome. Let's be honest. I love those.
Brahm got his start artwork.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that was all him.
Yeah. Now, she was also responsible for the hiring of R.A. Salvatore, who wrote what is, in past, probably the most iconic D&D character at least of Forgotten Realms. Now, Elmnister, is probably going to be like the new big one for people, but for my generation, Dritz was it. Yeah.
I mean, Salvatore has written a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Besides just Drizzt, but Drizzt is that was actually you bought me.
Mm-hmm.
You bought me the first Drizzt Do'Urden book
when we
for
were dating.
for my birthday when we were dating.
I read them when I was in high school.
Yeah,
it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. You gave me that one, and you gave me another Salvatore. You gave me the Canticle.
Yeah, the Cleric Quintet.
The Cleric Quintet. That's it. And it took me. I'm not even done with it, but I remember Homeland. I believe is the first Drizzt book, and I liked it a lot better. It moved a lot faster than the first of the Cleric Quintet did.
Quoting Mary Kirchhoff here. I went to the slush pile and read the first 30 pages of a book called Echoes of the Third Magic by a guy named Bob Salvatore. The story didn't really fit with what we were looking for, but there was something about the writing that grabbed me. So, yeah, she discovered him, literally. She became the fiction developer for WotC, Wizards of the Coast.
Let's call it Wizards of the Coast. I've never heard anyone say WotC. And that sounded very awkward. It's onomatopoeia for something, I'm sure. But yeah, Wizards of the Coast.
But and another quote from her then was, "Every book we published hit numerous bestsellers lists. It was a golden time." And yeah, I mean, you've seen upstairs in the library the books I brought with me.
Tons of Dungeons and Dragons books, and really in the franchise associated fiction areas in like Barnes and Noble and stuff. I remember for years I've seen lots of D&D books intermixed with, here's some Firefly, here's some Doctor Who, here's some whatever. But D&D and I think Warhammer and Warcraft are probably the three biggest groups that I remember seeing in fiction or in bookstores.
So from there, though, Mary went on to be, Wizards of the Coast is known for its personnel, switching over and bringing in new voices all the time. And so she left them, and now she is an editor with Tor Books.
Okay, yeah.
So, and Tor, for our listeners, is the book company that is responsible for bringing us Ender's Game and Legend of the Seeker.
Yeah, I mean, they publish a lot. They're almost kind of like a trade paperback.
They are.
At least that's how I think of them now.
They're one of the big three, I think.
A trade paperback reprint. The Legend of the Seeker, is that...
That was... it became a TV series.
Is that Terry Goodkind? Is that his?
Believe so. We'll have to look that up later.
I think that's the one that Ricky used to like a lot. And the main character was named Richard, and that was one of the reasons why he liked it.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we are on to Janelle Jaquez.
We are very likely butchering the pronunciation of that last name.
Probably.
But yeah, Janelle, we're sorry.
But she is known for writing modules for 2nd edition D&D. She became the founder of what is said to be one of the earliest official fandom magazines, and that is the Dungeoneer magazine. Now, there are arguments about who did it first, because there were several that came out that year, and I think she beat one of the one that everybody says, oh, that was the first, but I think she beat it by a month.
Oh wow.
So that, to me is a great thing, and it set up a lot of things like Dungeons, Dragons magazines. What's the other big one these days? There's the Game Master Quarterly.
I was going to say, doesn't Wizards of the Coast have an official D&D magazine now?
I'm not certain they do. They might they do for an online portion.
Okay.
Those two things aside, where everyone should know Janelle from is that she was a cover illustrator for D&D with TSR, and specifically, she is the artist of the iconic Red Dragon box set.
So is this the little red box that people refer to?
Yes, it is. She is the one who did the artwork. I actually found some pictures of hers just to show them to my colleagues here. Here's one of the Red Dragons that she has done in past.
That looks very familiar. I think that might be on...
Oh, yeah. It's on the... That's all the work for the... hold on. I'll think it. Dragonlance series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Here is...
Her and someone else then, I think.
Yeah. Elmore.
Actually,
Larry Elmore did a lot of artwork for them.
But I want to say that's on the Cleric Quintet.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. I think that's on the Cleric Quintet.
Here is Dungeon Magazine.
Oh.
She has a very nice lithid on that.
Mm-hmm.
We have Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Legend of Lore book.
Oh, I remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
I had that one.
Very cool.
Great artwork. She had a very semi-realistic, semi-fantasy. It really fit with the time period because I remember like the Hobbit cartoons, and it has that kind of feel as well.
See, and me seeing that now, I'm like, that is so hokey.
But
I mean, it's good.
I love it.
It's very good, and I couldn't do anything better. But I'm like, oh, that would be a book I'd pass by.
Yeah.
It wouldn't catch me. I'd be like, oh, it looks like the Lord of the Ring calendar from the 70s. Can't handle the Balrog with pecs.
But so she also has worked in other game companies. She was in illustration for Chaosium, TSR, and Steve Jackson Games.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Now she also worked for CCP while it was still held the properties of White Wolf. So these are names that we really know. We've touched on so far in Tome Travelers. But she left, or didn't really leave, but she went on from the whole tabletop RPG and started to work for id as one of the creators of the famous Quake series of games.
Now, is that a video game or a board game or what?
It came out after the Doom series, and it was both an arena-style combat game and how to put it? It had a story, but people played. That was like one of the first games that people played for the multiplayer, kill 'em, shoot 'em up kind of thing.
Yeah.
With huge teams and whatnot. But from there, she went on to become one of the founding members. I think there are 4 of Old School, spelled very oddly.
Yeah.
Alongside of her wife, Rebecca Heinemann, who worked on Borderlands. That's where we know her from.
No, what? Okay, I know Borderlands is a video game.
Yes, it is.
Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That Borderlands?
Yes.
Okay.
And they have a game development studio formed by 4 female veterans of the video game and tabletop game industries.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So
we need to see more of them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And see, what's interesting to me about this is these are some pretty big titles. And again, I haven't seen any names that I recognize yet. I mean, I know that there are some on here that I recognize. And it's also because there are certain companies that I follow. And so I know that there's some ladies coming up that I follow. Mm-hmm. But, I had no idea. And you don't hear about it a lot. And I did see somebody online the other day because they were talking about like a women in gaming panel or a women in gaming whatever, especially now that gaming convention season is upon us. And one woman was like, it's great that you're doing a women in gaming panel.
Yeah. But
we would really love it if you got to a point where you just invited us to your gaming panel. Because we've been here.
Yeah.
you know, we don't need our own panel. It's great that you're doing that, but why can't we be on a panel with men?
And that's the unfortunate thing, because once again, you mentioned D&D, Gary Gygax. And I mean, I'm right with you. I recognize all of these titles. I grew up with a lot of these titles. But it's just the women aren't brought up there. It's just men, guys. Yeah. And that's really unfortunate. But women have historically been really kind of there has not been a very deep participation by women. It was always a struggle to find female gamers for me, and all I had were guys. I mean, that's just how it all worked out.
And it's kind of I think that's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. I think, at least it was for a time, I feel, where women felt it was a guy's hobby. Guys said that it was a guy's hobby, and this is what we do without you. And so it became, women were, maybe some women were nervous about joining a game group because they figured they'd be, and there's still a great deal of misogyny and harassment that goes on in the gaming industry and in the community. Well,
I mean, just look at right now, what was the big one? The one where they're talking about, women can't be soldiers. That's like one of the big things in video games right now.
The one in the BattleTech game?
No, it was a World War II style video game.
Oh, Lord knows.
And right now there's this huge thing where people are like, you can't have a female character because women didn't fight in World War II. And historians and people are talking about the French revolutionaries or the French underground soldiers in Russia that were women.
Like one of the highest kills in Russia was a woman.
Yeah.
But it's this cycle
Sniper.
that's perpetuated that people
It's-
just don't
it's
want.
It's just,
you know,
it's just this. Yeah, it's a mindset, and I think that probably. I mean, you guys have been in the gaming community a lot longer than I have, and you remember these titles and you remember these things, and you weren't aware of these women being. I mean, some of this artwork.
yeah.
There's probably just an assumption that it was a guy who did it. It just doesn't even come up.
Well, see, for me, it was. I remember seeing him. I was like, "Wow, I really like them." But it kind of maybe it looks similar to someone else's
Yeah,
style.
so you
I
assume
didn't
it was
know.
somebody else's.
So I was just like, "Well, maybe it's theirs." But it's also kind of like in this case too. It's like, oh, I love this particular band. I'm like, oh, I have no idea who they are. Oh no, you have. Listen to this music. Oh, okay, I have heard it before. I do know who they are. But now that I'm like, okay, now I know who has made this painting.
Right.
That's fantastic. I'm glad this female, this person, whatever, has made this contribution. So that makes it even better for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool.
And so here's another name coming up that, to some extent, has I'm just going to say it, has been kind of in the shadow of her husband in the community. People always think of her husband first, Tracy Hickman, and they rarely talk about Laura Hickman.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So Laura Hickman and her husband, they released games independently with Daystar Media way back when. Now, they took their properties to TSR and worked there for years.
Weiss and Hickman.
Yep. Together, they created Ravenloft. So Ravenloft is probably one of the biggest world properties of D&D. I mean,
I would argue...
Forgotten Realms is huge.
Forgotten Realms, yeah.
Is big. Then you got, let's see, I'm trying to go through them in my mind. So Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, Planescape.
Space Jammer.
And
Plane Jammer.
yeah.
I forget how...
There were so many different of the jammers.
Yeah.
Spell Jammer.
Spelljammer.
Spelljammer.
That's it.
And
We've been totally butchering that.
yeah, but so you have the Ravenloft is right up there. It is their kind of horror.
I think it's
world.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the biggest, but I definitely think that it's
biggest, but one of.
I think it's got quite a following. That's because of the whole, because that's vampires and stuff too.
Yeah.
That's Curse of the Strahd and all that stuff, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that brings out the little goth nerds. They're just flocking to the vampires. You can just.
This was before White Wolf was around.
Yeah. So you had to have something, and that was the one.
Oh yeah. Now, together they created Dragonlance, which is, again, one of the biggest independent settings in fantasy fiction and gaming.
And Weiss and Hickman did all the writing for it.
Oh,
Tracy Hickman.
Mm-hmm. And, and now, little piece of trivia, Lorana of the Dragonlance world is based off of Laura Hickman.
Oh, that was that the half-elf?
One of the Plains people.
Oh, okay, yeah. God, it's been forever since I read it.
And so, that's a little piece of trivia there.
That series made me cry.
Tasselhoff Barut.
Yes,
we love you.
Tasselhoff was like the best ever.
He was a halfling, very much in the vein of Sam's character from Critical Role. Oh yeah, there's definitely shades of that character in that one.
Oh yeah. I played a Kender. They were Kender.
Oh yeah.
And they have no fear. And this was just fresh off of Dragonlance. So I was really able to keep in. And so my character, his thing was he liked taking drawings. So anytime we encountered something evil, I would go sit right there and wait, and I would start to draw it. And everyone's looking at me like I'm nuts. And sometimes I would actually distract the creature long enough for them to go start wailing on it. And there's like, oh, damn it, you ruined my picture.
But she also went on to write for Out of the Black in the Firefly RPG universe for Margaret Weiss Productions. So keeping it all in the family a little bit there. Created the board game The Sojourner Tales, which was a very successful Kickstarter.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of that, but I know I've never played it.
Yeah. Well, it's right now the board games are such a renaissance period. There's so much out there.
There's so many games. I mean, we have so many that are not opened yet.
But so, definitely a name to think about. So, moving on. Anne Brown. Now, Anne was the assistant editor for Dragon Magazine in 1989 and worked specifically on a certain number of issues. She later transferred to TSR's game division. She worked mainly as an editor, And although she did design a number of modules and supplements, the ones that she's really well known for are Falcon's Revenge, Falcon Master, Flames of the Falcon, Ship of Horror, which was a Ravenloft setting, Unsung Heroes, Aurora's Whole Realms Catalog, and Children of the Night Ghosts. Brown was a vocal advocate within TSR for the Greyhawk setting and designed the Player's Guide to Greyhawk.
That was another one of their big areas.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you don't even really think about it. You don't remember it because you never really heard about it unless you read the books.
Greyhawk was Gary Gygax's specific setting. That is the setting that he created for his table. And so...
gotcha.
Yeah. Everybody has moved on to Forgotten Realms, but we all forget Greyhawk's where it started. And I myself, I kind of like Greyhawk. I understand that there is a newer, updated, post-revolutionary version of Greyhawk that's going around now.
Oh, wow.
Because Greyhawk, like, the politics of Greyhawk was like the big thing in it. But Brown's Player's Guide to Greyhawk and Roger Moore's Return of the Eight, The Adventure Begins, returns to TSR to Greyhawk. And according to Chapel Applecline, and this is what I was saying, it moved the setting's metaplot well beyond the Greyhawk Wars to a new era that was lighter and more magical than the From the Ashes era. Brown left TSR in August of 1997 and did work for Fast Forward Entertainment from 2002 to 2003, and she is now a writer of educational nonfiction books for middle schoolers.
How interesting.
So it's kind of a cool career right there.
Yeah.
Asimov did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a lot of nonfiction books, and he loved it. I mean, he was very prodigious in it anyway. So definitely speaks very well of her.
Yeah, you do what you do.
So now we're getting on to another name. Now, I want to point this one out because we're going to be talking about a little bit about maps. And right now, I think map makers in D&D are having a cool heyday.
They are, because if you are a fan level map maker, but you're making some pretty cool stuff, because social media is what it is, and things can go viral so quickly. If you do something that really has merit, and the right person sees it, and it starts getting shared by like-minded people, it ends up in the hands of people who can actually do something with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, for instance, Devin LaRue.
Yeah, I think it's just Devin Rue, not LaRue.
Oh.
I think it's just,
my apologies then if I messed that up.
Pretty sure it's just Devin Rue.
But she did a map for Critical Role, and she has done several maps out there, and which people absolutely love. But so we're going to be talking now about Liz Danforth. Flying Buffalo was a gaming creator who hired Danforth as a staff artist and production person in 1978. Her magazine, Sorcerer's Apprentice, ran from 1978 to 1983 for 17 issues and was another big fan, of the whole fantasy genre magazine. Mm-hmm. I've tried to track down copies of it, and it is impossible. People will not let go of those. If you have one out there, I would love to see pictures of it, because that's like one of the few that I have not seen. But she went on to revise the rules for Tunnels and Trolls for the game's 5th edition in 1979, and extensively was involved in the rewrite and development. But beyond that, the majority of the body of her work is illustrating for the game industry from 1976 to 2004. We're talking 28 years in the game industry being a major illustrator.
Yeah.
So she created book covers, maps, and illustrations for many significant game publishers, including Wizards of the Coast, TSR, Alderac Entertainment Group, which we now know they've gone into the board game industry now.
Right.
They're much bigger for that.
Well, yeah, yes. Sorry, I remembered our discussion about Alderac, and I got confused with Crafty Games, but I know they're kind of associated, but yes, they're different.
Mm-hmm. FASA Corporation, who's one of their creators, is going to be the guest of honor at Gen Con this year. Iron Crown Enterprises.
ICE.
Yeah.
There was a game I had from ICE. What was it?
Do you remember?
I remember because I remember seeing Iron Crown Enterprises.
Well,
ICE.
I know that they did Roll Masters. I'm trying to see what else they did really quick. Because that's like the big one I know is Roll Masters, which was a math-heavy Dungeons & Dragons
Yeah.
It's not a company I'm really familiar with myself.
I've had a game from them. I recognize that name specifically. No, I can't remember.
Oh, they did
Merp is probably Middle Earth something or other, because they did get a license from Tolkien Enterprises, and they granted it because no one else had ever asked.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings adventure game, Middle Earth collectible card game, Middle Earth role-playing game, Middle Earth Quest, Tolkien Quest, and several board games, including actually one that I own. Actually, two I own, I'm now looking. They made the Fellowship of the Ring game, Battle of the Five Armies, Lonely Mountain, which I still have up on my shelf. But she also worked for GDW. So now here's one that's going to be fun for everybody. She produced 50 pieces of art for the collectible card game Magic the Gathering.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
So she was one of the people who got started, who basically, that is what kicked WotC off. Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast.
I'm just so used to saying
Ooh,
WotC.
you have never said WotC in my presence
because
in
I don't
our
play,
entire marriage.
Oh, no.
This is
WotC
it.
exists. People have been calling it WotC for quite a while.
Well, it needs to stop.
Oh.
It may have been cool at one point, but you
I
need
don't
to
think it
just
was
let
ever
it.
cool to call it that.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Well, then you need to just let it die like a bad hipster neckbeard.
Oh. But and then she did not just do gaming, but she's also worked for books for Bantam Spectra Books, Tor, DAW, and St. Martin's Press. So she has done a lot in the art community for fantasy and writing. But now we're moving into some names that people are much more familiar with. So we're going to start off with Nicole Lindrus.
Yeah, now this is a name that I know.
Yeah.
I learned of her through her husband or partner. I don't know if they're married.
I think
they are married.
I think that she just didn't take
later on. So
yeah, I don't think she ever took his. She obviously didn't take his name.
I know,
so.
yeah.
But
yeah, I'm very familiar with her company.
she's a modern woman.
Yeah,
She keeps her last name.
But she joined Lion Rampant after the company was started, and then joined White Wolf Publishing when the two companies merged in 1990. She went on to work for Atlas Games, which Atlas Games made was really big for, in my opinion, big for Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition and 3.5 supplements. Back during the D20 license, they actually produced a lot of really good content. But she played a sample copy of James Wallace's Once Upon a Time at Gen Con 24 and was subsequently published because of, she played
Once
it.
Upon a Time? The one that we have?
The
storytelling
is that
game?
James Wallace? You go grab it. Is that who is responsible for that? But it was subsequently afterwards published at Atlas Games. She played it, loved it, and then put it out. Oh wow, yeah. So it is official. Once Upon a Time, the card game, and there it is.
Well,
Atlas Games on the
storytelling card game, and we've seen it played on tabletop is where I saw it, and then bought that. And you're trying to finish your story before anybody else does. You have a hand of cards that have elements. You have like a starting and then a conclusion and then plot points and stuff, and you have to you're all telling the story, and you're trying to finish your hand before anybody else does. So
it's a lot of fun, and so she brought that game to the public. So she was the co-founder of Adventures Unlimited magazine, and Lindrus and her husband Chris Promise formed Green Ronin Publishing in 2000. Green Ronin.
It's Ronin,
yes.
yeah. We got schooled on the pronunciation by Chris Pramis at Comic Palooza a couple years ago. I said, man, I'm a really big fan of Green Ronin, and ever since Titan's Grave, he goes, Green Ronin. He just simply, it was like, it's actually pronounced Ronin. Sorry. You don't understand how Japanese works. So that's basically how I felt, and I was like, I am so sorry.
She has gone on to volunteer on the board of directors for the Game Manufacturers Association, Origins Award Committee, and is the chairman of the Academy of Adventure Gaming and Arts and Design.
If that's Origins, as in Origins Game Fair, this is timely because it is going on this week. So
yes, it is this weekend as we speak. But so, and she actually has a game coming. She is putting out right now with Green Ronin. that she is kind of heading up. I cannot remember the name of it. It's
is it one of their RPGs?
Yeah,
I mean, it has to be. I guess they don't do any tabletop or any board games.
It's a fairly dark world, but this is the one that she put out the all call for underrepresented voices.
Underrepresented, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I don't remember. Well, was it Blue? It wasn't Blue Rose.
No,
was
it wasn't Blue Rose.
I don't remember names of games very easily. I can remember names of people, but there's a whole other thing because there's so many.
I thought it had to do with a specific city. I'm trying to remember, but I cannot. When it releases, we will probably be hopping on it very quickly because we love Green Ronin.
Got to check it out and figure out what it is. Mm-hmm. We buy a lot of their stuff.
Oh yeah, I have a whole section upstairs just for them. I love it. It's like we went to Comic Palooza just so I could get my Thieves World set signed.
Yeah, he got it signed, which isn't Nicole, but got it signed by Chris Pramis. And he actually, when John brought out the box set, he was like, I have not ever been asked to sign one of these sets. And I haven't seen one of these sets
in so long.
In a long time. I mean, he was like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I had all of his new stuff. I had Fantasy Age and Titan's Grave, but I didn't have.
So moving on, we have Elizabeth McCoy. Now, she wrote the award-winning supplements GURPS Illuminati University.
GURPS is a game that I've never played, and I don't know if I ever want to.
I've never played it either.
I've heard horror stories, and there are people that still swear by it, like it's the only thing to ever do.
It's another one of those communities that it's kind of like, those people are like, if you talk about D&D after 3rd edition, don't talk to me.
Yeah, no, that was a whole group of nerds on the dating site where I met John. That was in their profile, almost like top of the screen was, if you play anything past D&D, AD&D 2nd edition, don't even send me a thing. Don't even send me a letter. And I was like, you are a special breed, and I hope you enjoy being single.
But GURPS kind of has that kind of fan following where it's like there are people who love it, there are people that hate it. And I think this depends on your generation. But she also was the line editor for In Nomine, the role-playing game. And in a lawsuit that received national attention and led to the establishment of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, McCoy, Milliken, and Steve Jackson successfully sued the United States Secret Service in 1993 for illegally seizing computers and electronic information.
What were they seizing it for?
Is it Big Brother?
Big Brother, Satanic Panic, who knows?
Well, Satanic Panic was over by the late 80s anyway.
But I'm just not surprised.
Had the government let it go? They want to know about these crazy gaming cults.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we're responsible for all the violence in the world.
Yeah.
So, now we're moving on
now here's his senpai.
Yeah, this is definitely, and pardon me, I hope this isn't too creepy, but this is definitely a person in the RPG industry that I look up to a lot.
Yeah.
I'm totally interjecting here.
Mm-hmm.
He misspelled senpai.
Well, no, I actually have no idea what that is.
Oh, it's like in anime. There's like, notice me, senpai, and it's like
the upperclassman, the person that you're like, oh, they're so dreamy.
If you could see me, you would see I have this completely lost look in my eyes. I don't watch weird anime.
They didn't do this in anime when Sam watched it.
I know.
When it was elite anime.
We just had people blowing each other up.
Yeah, no, senpai is like, I want to. It's like, if it's a guy, guys want to be them and girls want to be with them.
Adoration, basically.
Yeah, just, oh my God, notice me, senpai. It's just, which I think actually became popular after some comedy skit. I don't even know if that was a thing.
Well, that and of course the computer game, or whatever it is, where you're literally trying to get your senpai to notice you.
Oh, God help us. But yeah, so Crystal Frazier.
Yeah, Crystal Frazier
is one of. I can go through a list of John's gaming senpais, and Crystal Frazier's on there. We have met her. Mm-hmm. I've met her once, and then she was on the same panel with Chris Pramis. And then John has met her another time at Gen Con, and she gave him a bunch of Kobold stickers, and so he was like all giddy. But yeah, she's pretty cool, and she's got a lot to say. So not only is she a woman in gaming, she's a trans woman in gaming. And she deals with a lot of crap from a lot of people. Because people are just... And she keeps her finger on the pulse of what's happening in feminism and in trans culture. And especially in gaming and things like that. So
she created something that I absolutely love. And that is the Hero system. The books by Paizo, The Harrower and Harrowing, both those books, she was the creative voice behind it. Mm-hmm. And I love it. That's one of my favorite mechanics and strange additions to Paizo's Pathfinder. But even before then, she started the Cobalt Quarterly, Wayfinder, and several game mastery items and cards were developed by her. Nowadays, she is simultaneously involved with Paizo. She's still very involved with Pathfinder.
Yeah, as far as I understand.
And with Starfinder. She is also heavily involved with Green Ronin for their Blue Rose license and also their Mutants and Masterminds license.
I think
she's their line developer, I believe.
Yeah,
their line
she is
lead.
their line. As of Gen Con last year, they said she was the line developer for Mutants and Masterminds from here on out. So doing a bunch of stuff.
And yeah, she is very easy to find online at Twitter, and she is wonderful, and I think everybody should go follow her.
Yeah, they just got back from a vacation. Her and her wife have just gotten back from a vacation to Japan, and her in Japan was hilarious because she just bought all these Japanese RPGs because she found this game store, and she's like, I have no idea what they say, but I want them all. And she's like, please keep me from going back and buying more things I can't read. And also she had comments about being a 6-foot-tall woman in Japan was an experience in and of itself, just because that's not what they're used to. So it's not what they're used to, and their places aren't built.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, Japan will not be a place I go anytime soon. So.
And now we come to what is going to be kind of the final person that I really did any research on for gaming, as far as like the history thereof, and that is Lisa Stevens. She is the co-founder of Paizo Publishing and is considered to be the most powerful person in the industry right now.
Now, where'd you get that statistic?
That was from, I believe, from an N-World article. You know, it was written during the absolute height of Paizo, when it held about like 60 to 70% of the gaming market share. You know, when they were like the major voice on Roll20 and everything else. So now this year, obviously the numbers have come out, and D&D 5th edition is now the superpower. They're now holding 60 to 70% of the games played on Roll20. So that's pretty impressive. But anyway, so she is the co-founder of Paizo. She founded Lion Rampant, which we should remember when we talked about
Nicole Lindrus.
Yeah, Nicole Lindrus. She was influential.
Now, what did Lion Rampant do again?
Lion Rampant, I believe, was the precursors with I cannot remember the name of the company, but it was I think it was Black Dog or something like that. That actually put out the original Masquerade vampire stuff.
Oh, okay,
it was considered very much, a little bit more mature, and so it's also pretty hard to find. I think I have a couple of books though upstairs I didn't manage to track down. But she was very influential in the merger of Lion Rampant and White Wolf, and is very involved in Vampire the Masquerade. She helped to found Wizards of the Coast. She's heavily involved in leadership of D&D, as well as the Star Wars D20 game, which after the West End game, I think the D20 one that she put out and was involved in was one of the best Star Wars RPGs up until now with Fantasy Flight Games.
The West End ones were a mess.
But the D20 license of Star Wars and all the books that came out with that, which you've actually seen, the Alien Anthology that I let you read. I mean,
that was quite educational
Yeah.
for someone who is not. I mean, Star Wars. I know that's not what we're talking about, but Star Wars is such a difficult universe to grasp all the races, and that was actually a really handy book to have. And I don't think it had everything in it, but it had a lot.
But she founded Paizo Publishing, which produced the Dungeon and Dragon magazines in the early 2000s, and also published Star Wars Insider, which is a huge magazine, undefeated, and amazing stories. And I mean, at this point, what more needs to be said about Paizo itself? The website is a marketplace for everything. Everything in the world, every last game item you can imagine is on their website.
There's a lot of board games available through Paizo now.
So they've become the Amazon.
They kind of have.
The role-playing game world.
Unfortunately, they're not marked down like Amazon tends to be. But Pathfinder's never going anywhere. I mean, it's going to be here for a long time.
It's a very comfortable system.
It is. And even with Pathfinder 2nd Edition on the horizon, people are still all over it. So
that is our lineup of women in RPGs.
And this list is definitely not exhaustive by any stretch.
I definitely do want to point out that on Wikipedia, there is actually a list, a very, very, very good list, alphabetically arranged, of women in RPGs. It's a great resource to go and look at on Wikipedia. And like I said, some of the information that I have is from there. Some of it I've tracked down individually, having to really scour the web for some stuff. But I really wanted to do this episode for this month when I think it was either Broadswords or Kestrels kind of said, let's talk about women in RPGs this month. And it has become kind of this social media revolution online right now to talk about this. Broadswords is a D&D 5th edition actual play with a female GM and female players. Kestrels
it's not just D&D though, is it? I mean, they're talking about doing some other stuff.
Yeah, they're talking about doing other stuff. I think they're talking about maybe doing a Mass Effect one in the future.
Yeah.
Which we would be completely on board
with. They were going
to
do it with their Patreon supporters, and I was like, oh, come
they're
on.
They're actually talking about going ahead and doing it anyway.
I can't afford to do another Patreon subscription.
And then Kestrels is another podcast that's very very forward in the way of thinking, and they are it's City of Thieves or something like that. It was one of the smaller RPGs that came out this last year that got a lot of press.
I'm not sure.
Everybody plays Thieves.
You listen to a much wider variety of podcasts. I kind of keep to the people I know, so you listen to many more than I do.
But no, it's just one of those things where this has come up, and when I heard about it, it's just like, this is great, because this is something that needs to be seen and heard. Is that we're not just guys playing with other guys and saying, oh, girls don't play RPGs, or more guys than girls play RPGs. It's like women have been in RPGs since the beginning,
right? Yeah,
and that was kind of what I really wanted to push for people to understand.
Because a lot of the games that you play had women involved in them from the beginning, and you may not have even known it. So stop gatekeeping. Yeah, because we're here,
and they've always been here. And this isn't something that's necessary. It is political. It is a very political topic right now, but it shouldn't be, because this is reality.
Yeah,
the reality is that what we love is because there are women in it. And that's why I wanted to say. That's my entire point with this show, and I hope I got that across.
I think so. I think it was a good information, and I learned a lot of names that I didn't know before. So.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much. And when we come back, we will actually be doing a show for our new co-host and friend Sam here. We are actually going to be doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG by Palladium.
Yay!
I've been pulling together facts for that and getting all the little tidbits together.
I am crying tears of joy.
Oh, we're gonna have fun
going
with that.
back. I will be going back in time to when I was a geeky teenager.
He'll be insulting me endlessly because I grew up on the cartoon and movies.
Oh yes, we are not going to discuss those things at all. You will have to read the graphic novels, not comics. Graphic novels.
Yeah, so this...
Otherwise, you will not be allowed at the table.
This last 20 seconds has been provided to you by has been sponsored by our next episode of Sam demeaning me for being a child of the late 80s.
One mention of Cowabunga, and you were evicted from the table.
Dang.
Oh, no, none.
Is Cowabunga not better than what they say now? I don't even know what they say now, but it's a lot more... it's like it's not surfers. They never
say that in the comics. They never
Are
say
they even...
that.
Well, and it doesn't make sense for a bunch of people in Brooklyn or in New York, wherever they are.
I mean, there's like one scene where they eat pizza, I think. And that's because one of them tricked... They would pay... How did it go? Something like they would pay some pizza company to deliver, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they would see the money, they're like, all right. And then they would take the pizza down. But, I mean, it wasn't like they ate it all the time.
That was that's one of the scenes in the movie that's great, where the 20 is coming up through the sewer grate, and the guy feeds it down. And I was always like, how is their pizza still flat when they got it down there? And they had to feed it in like a cassette tape.
The world may never know.
But see, it was, and see, we'll have to save this for next time, but I related to it because I was like, I want to eat pizza all the time and jump around and not have to worry about my parents being around. That'd be so awesome. Yeah. Oh my God, they're skateboarding in the sewer tunnels. Yeah. Wow, sewers are so clean.
All right. So
that's
good
this
night,
episode,
guys.
yeah.
Thank you all so
We'll
much.
See you later. You've been listening to Tome Travelers. Please subscribe to get our episodes as soon as they release. For more information about us, check out passionerdly.com, @passionerdly on Twitter and Instagram, as well as facebook.com/passionerdly. Also, if you're interested in supporting our show, look us up at patreon.com/passionerdly. Once again, thank you for listening.
This has been a production of the Southgate Media Group. For more podcasts like this one, head over to southgatemediagroup.com.